Think about something you once wanted badly, not casually though. Something you genuinely believed would change things. Maybe it was getting into a certain school, landing a particular job, making more money, buying something you wanted for years, moving somewhere new, getting into a relationship, reaching a fitness goal, finishing a degree, receiving recognition, starting the business, getting promoted. You imagined the moment. When I finally get there, things will get different. You'll relax. You'll feel successful. You'll feel secure. You'll finally feel like you've made it. Then something interesting happens. You get there, and for a while, it feels incredible. Maybe for a day, maybe a week, maybe even a month, sometimes way longer. But eventually, the extraordinary starts becoming ordinary. The new job becomes your job. The new apartment becomes where you live. The new car becomes the car you drive. The promotion becomes your title. The relationship becomes your relationship. The number in the bank account becomes a new baseline. And somewhere in the transition, the mind begins doing something familiar. It looks ahead again. What's next? Another goal? Another milestone? Another level? Purchase? Achievement? Another version of yourself waiting somewhere in the future? So here's the question. How much of your life are you spending on the way to the destination that will become ordinary shortly after you arrive? That is the file we're opening today. Welcome to episode 9 of Life Philosophies, the Arrival Fallacy. Why getting what you want doesn't end wanting. Last episode, we talked about obstacles. What happens when the road you plan to take closes? Can you remove the obstacle, go around it, use it, or recognize it as a warning? But today, we're dealing with something stranger. What happens when the road doesn't close? What happens when it works? You reach the destination. You accomplish the goal. You get what you wanted, and then discover you're still you. There's a popular term for the belief that reaching some future achievement will produce lasting happiness. That's the arrival fallacy. The term is strongly associated with psychologist Tal Ben-Shahar. It's the belief that once I reach that goal, then I'll be happy. The problem isn't having goals. The problem is assigning them a psychological job that may not be able to perform. Many of us make an invisible contract with the future. It sounds like this. When I graduate, then I'll relax. When I get the job, then I'll feel successful. When I earn enough money, then I'll feel secure. When I lose weight, then I'll feel confident. When I meet someone, then I'll stop feeling lonely. When the business succeeds, then I'll feel like I've made it. When I retire, then I'll finally enjoy my life. Notice the structure. When X happens, then I'm allowed to feel Y. The presence becomes a waiting room. Life hasn't started yet. You're preparing for it, building towards it, sacrificing for it. And sometimes sacrifice is necessary. But there's a danger. You can become so accustomed to postponing satisfaction that when the future finally becomes the present, you immediately create another future. Goals are psychologically powerful, partly because they organize attention. Suppose you want to run a marathon. Suddenly, many decisions have direction. Training matters. Sleep matters. Nutrition matters. The calendar matters. Progress becomes measurable. There is a destination that can feel deeply meaningful. Then, race day arrives. You finish. People congratulate you. You take the photo. Maybe you wear the medal. And then, Monday comes. The goal that was organized months of your life is complete. That can create a strange emotional vacuum. You thought the achievement would feel like, I have arrived. But life doesn't freeze at the finish line. The question returns. Now what? Psychology gives us another concept that helps explain this. Hedonic adaptation. Human beings often adjust to changes in circumstances. Positive changes can initially produce increases in happiness or satisfaction. But over time, some of that effect may fade as the new condition becomes familiar. This isn't absolute. Not every experience returns everyone to exactly the same baseline. Different life events affect people differently, but the general phenomenon matters. Humans normalize. What was once extraordinary becomes expected. Think about your phone. If someone had handed you your current smartphone 15 years ago, it might have felt almost impossible. Now, maybe different. If an app takes 3 seconds too long to open, you're irritated. The miracle became the minimum. That is adaptation. I want you to imagine you're earning $40,000 a year and believing, if I could make $70,000, I'd finally feel financially comfortable. Eventually, you reach 70,000. Maybe life genuinely improves. You can afford better housing, save more, handle emergencies. Those are real improvements. But another process may occur. Your expectations change. Your lifestyle changes. The people you compare yourself with change. Now, 70,000 doesn't feel like the destination. It feels like the starting point. Maybe the new number is 100,000, then 150,000, then something else. This doesn't mean money doesn't matter. Money can profoundly affect quality of life, particularly when it reduces deprivation and creates security. The philosophical problem isn't wanting more money. It's assuming there exists some external number that will permanently eliminate the psychological experience of not enough. Because enough isn't only a number, it's also the relationship between what you have, what you expect, what you compare, and what you desire. Have you ever walked towards the horizon? Of course, you never reach it. The horizon moves as you move. Some goals behave psychologically like that. You think, once I get there, you arrive. Then, there relocates. This can happen with money, status, followers, fitness, knowledge, career, possessions, recognition, even self-improvement. You can become addicted to becoming better. Every version of yourself becomes unacceptable the moment it becomes your present self. There's always another level, another weakness, another optimization, another metric, another target. Eventually, personal growth can become a sophisticated way of saying, who I am today is never allowed to be enough. Let's correct the obvious misunderstanding. Should you stop setting goals? No, of course not. Should you stop trying to improve your circumstances? No. Should you abandon ambition? Not necessarily. Goals can create direction, build skills, improve circumstances, solve problems, expand possibilities, produce meaningful work, help other people. The issue is not ambition. The issue is confusing achievement with completion. You may achieve something, but you are not completed by it. There will still be laundry, traffic, conflict, uncertainty, boredom, bills, insecurity, bad moods, questions, and of course, Tuesday afternoons. The achievement enters ordinary life because ordinary life is where almost everything eventually goes. We tend to imagine future destinations selectively. Imagine your dream job. When you picture it, what appears? The interesting work, the title, the salary, the office, the recognition, the feeling of accomplishment. So what usually doesn't appear? Emails, meetings, administrative tasks, difficult coworkers, deadlines, bad days, and routine. The mind often compares the full reality of the present against the highlight reel of the future. And of course, the future wins. It's been edited. This happens with relationships too. You imagine connection, companionship, affection, shared experiences. But relationships also contain miscommunication, compromise, logistics, different moods, responsibility. The destination isn't fake. It's just incomplete. Suppose you spend 3 years pursuing a promotion. You work late, take on additional responsibility, develop your skills. Finally, your manager calls you in. You got it. For several days, maybe you're thrilled. Then the new role begins. More responsibility, more decisions, more pressure, more meetings, maybe more money, maybe more autonomy. But eventually, it's Tuesday. You're answering an email. The thing that once represented success has become my current responsibilities. That doesn't make the promotion meaningless. It means the emotional image of arrival was different from the lived experience of having arrived. Success can create new problems. You start a business because you want freedom. The business grows. Now you manage employees, payroll, customers, operations, taxes, risk. You wanted freedom. Success gave you responsibility. You wanted recognition. Recognition gave you scrutiny. You wanted more opportunities. Opportunities gave you more decisions. You wanted abundance. Abundance created complexity. Again, this is not anti-success. It's simply recognizing every desired future contains its own ordinary problems. So don't ask only, do I want the reward? Ask, do I want the responsibilities attached to the award. Some philosophies treat desire suspiciously, and there's wisdom there. An unexamined desire can keep us perpetually dissatisfied. But desire also moves human life. You desire food, connection, knowledge, safety, creation, exploration, improvement, justice, love, and achievement. The goal isn't necessarily to stop wanting. That may not even be realistic. The more useful question is, what relationship do I have with wanting? Can you want something without requiring it to make your present life legitimate? Can you pursue something without treating everything before arrival as merely preparation? Can you desire improvement without despising the current version? Now that's much harder. Here's a simple diagnostic. Finish this sentence. I'll be happy when. Don't overthink it. What appears? I'll be happy when I make. I'll be happy when I get. I'll be happy when I meet. I'll be happy when I finish. I'll be happy when I move. I'll be happy when I become. Now examine the full sentence. Not because the goal is bad. Just ask, what emotional responsibility have I assigned to this future event? Are you asking a job to provide identity, worth, security, purpose? Are you asking a relationship to eliminate loneliness, self-doubt, uncertainty? Are you asking money to provide status, safety, freedom, even proof? Sometimes the goal is carrying far more psychological weight than the goal itself can support. There is a useful distinction between goals and systems. A goal is, run a marathon. A system is, I run 4 days each week. A goal is, write a book. A system is, I write for an hour each morning. A goal is, save 20,000. A system is, I automatically save a percentage of each paycheck. Goals define destinations. Systems define repeated behavior. This connects directly back to episode 6. If all satisfaction comes from completing goals, then satisfaction exists only at occasional finish lines. But if some meaning exists in the practice itself, then life becomes less dependent on arrival. You've heard, it's about the journey, not the destination. It becomes a cliche because it's often said vaguely, but let's make it concrete. Most of your life is not spent arriving. It's spent working, practicing, driving, cooking, reading, talking, waiting, learning, cleaning, planning, trying, failing, and repeating. If those moments are merely obstacles between you and the next achievement, then you've categorized most of your life as something to get through. That is the real problem. The journey matters because statistically, the journey is almost all there is. Arrival is a brief. Then it becomes another journey. I want you to think about planning a vacation. Sometimes anticipation becomes part of the pleasure. You research, imagine, book things, count down. Then the trip begins, and suddenly you can become obsessed with maximizing it. Did we see enough? Did we choose the right restaurant? Are we wasting time? Should we be somewhere else? Then the vacation ends, and sometimes the memory becomes more pleasant than the parts of the actual experience were. Human beings can live anticipating the future, documenting the present, remembering the past, and somehow barely inhabiting the experience itself. The arrival fallacy isn't only about career or money. It can appear anywhere we turn the present into a hallway leading somewhere else. Imagine you reach your goal. Then you look sideways. Someone has more money, more recognition, a better house, a larger audience, a more impressive career, a fitter body, a more exciting life. Suddenly, your achievement shrinks. Nothing about the achievement changed. The comparison did. This is one external reason milestones struggle to create permanent satisfaction. The standard can move, and in a world where you can instantly compare yourself to millions of people, there is almost always someone with more, better, faster, younger, earlier, or bigger. The game has no natural endpoint unless you define one. This may be one of the hardest questions in modern life. What is enough? Enough money? Enough achievement? Enough recognition? Enough possessions? Enough improvement? If you never define enough, then more becomes the default, and more has no finish line. Imagine playing a game where the score needed to win increases every time you approach it. That's what undefined ambition can become. So perhaps ambition needs a companion, not complacency, sufficiency, the ability to say, I can pursue more while recognizing that something here is already enough. Those two ideas can coexist. Gratitude is something presented as, be grateful for what you have and stop wanting more. That is unnecessary. You can appreciate your current life and still change it. You can appreciate your apartment and want a house. You can love your job and pursue another opportunity. Be proud of your progress and continue to improve. Enjoy your current income and build more wealth. Gratitude doesn't require stagnation. It changes the emotional starting point. Instead of, my life becomes acceptable after I achieve this. Instead, you can say, there are things worth appreciating now, and there are things I still intend to build. That's a very different relationship with ambition. So, I want you to take one major goal you have and ask, why do I want this? Then ask again. Suppose it's, I want to make more money. Why? So I can have more freedom. Why does freedom matter? I want more control over my time. Now, we are getting somewhere. Maybe money is one route towards the deeper goal, but perhaps there are smaller ways to increase control over your time before reaching the final income target. Or it might be, I want a promotion. Why? I want to feel successful. Now, the deeper issue may involve how you define success. Goals often contain another goal underneath them. Finding it helps prevent the external milestone from carrying responsibilities it was never designed to carry. Choose one thing you're currently pursuing. Write it down, then answer. Number 1, what do I actually want? And be specific. Number 2, what do I believe I feel when I get it? Security, relief, pride, freedom, belonging, worth? Number 3, how long do I realistically expect that feeling to last? It's an interesting question. Number 4, what new responsibilities or problems come with this goal? Don't imagine only the reward. Number 5, what happens if the achievement becomes normal? Because it probably will. Number 6, is there any part of the desired feeling available before arrival? Can you create some freedom now? Some pride? Some connection? Some meaning? Number 7, what would enough look like? If you cannot answer that, pay attention. There's another mistake ambitious people make. They reach the goal and immediately move on. No pause, no acknowledgement, no celebration. The promotion happens. Great. Next target. The business hits the number. Great. Raise the number. You finished the degree. Great. What's next? This accelerates adaptation. If you're going to work for something meaningful, practice actually noticing when it happens. Celebrate. Reflect. Thank people. Record what it took. Notice what changed. Arrival may be temporary, but that doesn't mean you should skip it. A line deserves to be experienced before it becomes another starting line. Now, I want you to make 2 lists. List number 1, what are you building? The things you're pursuing, whether it's career, money, health, relationships, skills, creative work, whatever matters to you. Then, list number 2, what I don't want to miss while building it. Dinner with people you love, your kids at this age, your parents while they're still here, walking outside, music, friends, sleep, health, ordinary mornings, a hobby that doesn't make money, a conversation that accomplishes nothing. The point of this isn't to be sentimental. It's allocation. What are you willing to sacrifice for the future? And what are you not willing to sacrifice because it's a part of your life that you're building towards? That question can change a schedule. So, for the next 7 days, I want you to catch yourself whenever you think, once I finish this, once I make this, once I get there, once this week is over, once things calm down. And I want you to write it down. Then ask, what am I postponing? Is it rest, enjoyment, attention, connection, permission to feel proud, permission to feel enough? And then ask yourself, can some version of that happen today without abandoning the goal? Maybe not. Sometimes circumstances genuinely require sacrifice, but sometimes the future has become an excuse for never inhabiting the present. The experiment is simply to notice. Think about something you have today that an earlier version of you desperately wanted. Maybe you're living somewhere you once hoped you'd live, doing work you once wanted, earning something you once imagined, owning something you saved for, knowing someone you once hoped to meet, having an opportunity you once wished for. Now ask, how often do I still notice it? Don't ask, am I grateful enough? That's another way to judge yourself. Just notice. Yesterday's dream can become today's background. That's human adaptation. But once you see it happening, you can occasionally bring the background forward again. Now, let's close the file. Goals matter. Ambition matters. Improvement matters. Achievement can genuinely improve your life. But no achievement permanently suspends ordinary existence. You arrive. You adapt. The extraordinary becomes familiar. And eventually the mind asks, what's next? The problem isn't that you keep wanting. The problem begins when you make a contract with the future. I am not allowed to experience enough until I arrive. Because arrival is brief. Then the destination becomes the new starting point. So pursue the goal, build the business, train yourself, save money, study, create, and improve. But once in a while, look around. You may already be standing inside something that an earlier version of you called someday. Define enough before the word defines it for you. Celebrate finish lines before turning them into starting lines. And don't sacrifice every part of the present for a future whose greatest danger is that once you've reached it, it will simply become the present too. So, the takeaway from episode 9 is, build towards tomorrow without requiring tomorrow to make worth living. So let's recap. Episode 1, who are you? Episode 2, how are you living? Episode 3, are your thoughts true? Episode 4, what story do you call your identity? Episode 5, what does your behavior prove? Episode 6, what has your behavior learned to do automatically? Episode 7, what actually belongs to your control? Episode 8, what can you do with what stands in your way? And episode 9, are you postponing your life until you arrive somewhere else? And that leads to another question. Because maybe the problem isn't only that we keep chasing the next achievement. Maybe we're using the wrong scoreboard altogether. Money, status, followers, job titles, possessions, or achievements. And of course, other people's approval. But what if you succeed according to every visible measure and discover that none of those measures answered the important question? What does a successful life actually mean to you? And that is the next file. Episode 10. Define success before the word defines it for you. Because if you don't decide what counts, someone else will happily keep score. And that is where we're going next.